And now, for your listening pleasure, and
it's Trauma Moments Day, and I'm talking triggers today because last week I was triggered. Sometimes the past does show up uninvited. Imagine you're going about your day, minding your business, maybe even you might be having a decent time, then bam, something small, something seemingly harmless sends you spiraling into full-blown emotional hurricane. Your heart races, your chest tightens, and suddenly you're right back there in a moment you thought you left behind. Welcome to the world of traumatic triggers where your past doesn't always stay in the past. A trigger is anything, a smell, a song, a phrase, a place, even a look that yanks you back to a painful experience like an emotional time machine. It's not just remembering something painful, it's reliving it. Your body, your mind, and your nervous system react as if the trauma is happening all over again. Fun, right? Triggers aren't about logic. You could be in the safest place on earth, but if your brain connects something in the present to something painful in the past, your survival instincts take over. It's your brain's way of screaming, danger, danger, we've been here before and it did not end well. Even if, in reality, you're just standing in the frozen food aisle at your local grocery store. Where do triggers come from? Well, trauma doesn't just go away because time has passed. It lingers in the nervous system. It waits for the right, or rather wrong moment to remind you it's still there. Some triggers are obvious: seeing someone who hurt you, hearing a song that played during a terrible moment, or visiting a place where something bad happened. But others, sneaky little things. They creep up in the form of scents, the perfume of someone who broke you, the smell of a hospital hallway, sounds, a certain tone of voice, a slammed door, a particular song that played during a traumatic event, situations, conflict, rejection, feeling ignored, feeling trapped, even internal states, hunger, exhaustion, even happiness, because sometimes trauma makes us afraid to trust good things. The why can't I just get over it myth? Yes, the million-dollar question. Trauma isn't a bad memory you can just move on from. It's a wound. And if wounds aren't properly treated, they don't heal. They just get covered up, waiting for the right moment to reopen. Saying just get over it to someone with trauma is like telling someone with a broken leg to run a marathon. Sure, Karen, I'll just rewire my nervous system real quick. Hold my coffee. Healing takes time, awareness, and sometimes professional support. Triggers might not go away overnight, but you can take back control, and here's how. Name it. The more you understand your triggers, the less power they have. Instead of just reacting, notice, oh, this is a trauma response. Naming it separates you from it. Ground yourself. When a trigger hits, your body thinks it's in danger. Tell it otherwise. Focus on your breathing. Touch something solid. Name 5 things you see. Remind yourself, this is now, that was then. Rewire the narrative. Trauma makes us feel powerless. But every time you recognize a trigger and choose to respond differently, you're rewiring your story. Small wins count. Give yourself grace. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong, other days you'll feel like you're back at square one. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. And seek support because you deserve it. If trauma is making daily life a struggle, you don't have to carry it alone. Therapy, support groups, or even talking to someone who gets it can be life-changing. Triggers don't mean you're broken. Having triggers doesn't mean you're weak. It means you survived something that shouldn't have happened. It means your brain and body are still working through it. But here's the good news. You're not stuck in trauma. I've said this 100 million times. Healing is possible. Not overnight, not perfectly, but step by step, moment by moment. And one day, something that once triggered you won't hit as hard. You'll feel it, acknowledge it, and then let it pass. Like a bad song on the radio, you don't have to keep listening. Keep going. You're doing better than you think. I'm Carolyn Zanuck, life coach, author, high-value woman. This has been my podcast, Thrive. Thank you all so much for listening, and that's a wrap.